For those who follow this channel, it should come as no big surprise that I like Assassin's Creed. So I did what any fan of a franchise would. I bought the game, I played it for more than 100 hours. I have traveled across Japan on my horse, I stabbed people in the neck, stabbed people with a tiny sword, a big sword, and a gigantic fucking sword. Now I've hunted down over what seems like 9,000 targets, sat through the story, rode my horse for about 500 more hours, and finally got to the end. And after all of that, if I had to describe this game in a single sentence, this is the best version of Ubisoft's mediocrity. Now I am a normal guy, and just like any other normal guy, there are a few things that I fear in life. You know, snakes, nukes, the entire country of Australia. But there is nothing I fear more than Ubisoft Quebec fears Assassin's Creed. Simply saying the word assassin in their studio would probably send them crying in terror. They are so deathly afraid of Assassin's Creed that they will rather get their soul sucked by a dementor than actually make an Assassin's Creed game. Syndicate was a mockery of everything this franchise stood for. Odyssey was them carrying the corpse of this once great franchise through toxic medieval sewage. And Shadows is what Desmond smelled like after swimming through toxic medieval sewage. If anyone at Ubisoft Quebec thinks that this is the ultimate Assassin's Creed game, they are either lying or delusional or both. I'm gonna say both. Why do I criticize it so harshly? Well, that's what the rest of the video is for. But let's get the good stuff out of the way first. There is something that Shadows does well. Actually, better than any other game in the franchise. And that is stealth. Stealth in this game is a blast. Gone are the easy cheesable enemies with the combined brain cell of an orange cat. Now they have 2 brain cells. Guards won't just come one by one when you whistle past a corner. If they have a buddy around, they will call them and they will keep watch while they hunt down the source of the noise. They actually tilt their heads and look up. It took them 18 years to do that, but hey, at least they did. You can't just chuck a smoke bomb and pray for the best either, because some enemies are smart. If you throw a smoke bomb, they will run away. But you can also use that to your advantage. If you want to move a guard out of a particular position, throw a smoke bomb, let them run out of there, and use the cover that you now have in the smoke bomb to just run through that area. There are still specific circumstances where you can cheese the enemy, but honestly, at that point, you probably are planning something and it's just a reward for you planning something. So I honestly don't find it a big deal there. Now granted, I was playing on the highest difficulty and I would highly recommend everyone to do the same. Also, another thing I would encourage everyone to do is turn off the HUD. If not all the way, at least most of it. From the gameplay that you are seeing on your screen right now, you can see that most of it is turned off, including the crosshair and the enemy health info. Now, since the health bar is the only way for us to know if an assassination is going to be successful, I have also enabled one-hit assassinate. And I also kind of like the feeling of it being like the older games. Now, yeah, it does compromise one of the aspects of gameplay, of progression in this game, but honestly, I did not care. Now, Naoe has some tools at her disposal. Her toolset is limited when compared to Basim or Ezio, but she has most of what you need. Shurikens to break lamps and explode barrels on your suspecting enemies, kunai to take down your enemies with slightly less noise, smoke bombs to be used as an example for Geneva Convention 400 years later, and the bell, which attracts targets to a specific place. Between these and the return of double assassinations with the Tanto, the rush assassinate with the Kusarigama, and the Shoji door assassination with the Katana, you are given a lot of choice to execute the poor fool in front of you. I personally did not use the rush assassinate much, as the kunai just does the job for me. And I never got rid of my Tanto because I need double assassinations in my life. But I was glad to see Ubisoft bring back double assassinations after a decade. And not content with adding it to the game, they also brought it to Twitter. However, in the game, the double assassinate can often be hit or miss, especially while you are moving. Your best bet is to be directly behind or directly above the two targets. Any deviation and Naoe will just kill the one guy. Not to mention, in order to double assassinate, the camera cuts away and your character has to magically transport and align themselves with the targets. Now, these alignments were also a thing in the older games, but they did it a lot more dynamically. This is a feature that has been in the game since 2009, and somehow it is worse than its implementation 16 years ago. As I went on with the game, I honestly switched back to my trusty old 1-2, kill a guy with a kunai, and use the distraction to take down his buddy. Mostly works for me. But yeah, I would still use the double assassinate every now and then. Now, Yasuke is about as good at stealth as I am at attracting maidens, so there is no point talking about it. If you're trying to sneak as Yasuke, you're doing it wrong, and you honestly won't be doing it for long. Now, the classic fans of the franchise might ask, where is social stealth? After all, hiding in plain sight is quite literally a tenet of the assassins, right? To that, all I have to say is, did you really think that there were assassins in the game? Ah, you sweet summer child. Now moving on to combat. It's basically the ability-based combat from Odyssey with just fairly grounded moves other than when Yasuke flies through the air or kicks someone through the air. But it's pretty much the same loop of hit the enemy 500 fucking times before you recharge an ability and use that to deal slightly more damage. But there is an added twist. Now, light attack and heavy attack can be charged to break down the enemy armor first. Now, they are called posture attacks in this game, but it's a mechanic we have seen even before in this franchise. Heavy attacks in Unity, charged attacks in both, for both heavy and light in Origins. This is a mechanic we have seen before, it's just tied to something else. So since we can break the enemy armor first, I thought maybe this will reduce the damage sponginess a little bit, but honestly it doesn't. If you're fighting an enemy that is even like 2 levels above you with gear piece, maybe a level below you because you won't always have the exact level of gear piece, yeah, it's gonna take a while. This combat system honestly does not stack up when compared to something like Ghost of Tsushima. I feel like that is a far superior system, even though the amount of weapon variety in that game is far lesser because we have more weapons here. But of course, no one can really compete with the GOAT that is Sekiro. That said though, this is still one of, if not the best combat system in the entire franchise. As for parkour though, I'm gonna give it about as much attention as Ubisoft have, so basically it is a slightly more polished turd. As far as mission design goes, this continues the trend of boring and uninspired missions. The only thing they have put any effort into is the boss battles, and for the most part, they aren't particularly great either. In some cases, missions are actually worse, as this game actively boxes you into a specific path, which means somehow it has less freedom than the previous entries. Now, since this is an RPG, we have to talk about progression. Now, I'm saving the story progression for later when we discuss the story. Right now, I'm just gonna focus on the gameplay progression. Loot honestly was irrelevant, at least for me, because I was playing mostly as Naoe, and I'm a stealthy shinobi, and I was mostly not in combat, so it didn't matter if I have health or not. I mean, I spent basically the entire game with just the Yurei Walker robes, which I got when they were like level 18 or something. And I spent the entire game with that. I only upgraded it when I got to level 60. I did not upgrade it at all. So yeah, because I don't really need health. And now I kept finding better weapons, so I honestly didn't need to upgrade the weapons either because there was always mostly a weapon close to my level whenever I needed it. Now that might be slightly different for Yasuke, but honestly I didn't play much as Yasuke, so I'm not gonna say much about that. Now that we have talked about what we do in the game, let's discuss where we do it. I honestly don't know what kind of a tone I should be taking here. On the one hand, Shadows is just drop dead stone cold gorgeous. On the other hand, you actually look at the design of the world and it looks stoned cold and dead. In the past few Assassin's Creed games, while playing, I just had to jump into photo mode because some of the views were just so stunning, I had to capture them. Which is how I ended up with about a bajillion screenshots and that is just Origins. Here, however, I would routinely jump into photo mode and realize that photo just does not do this game justice. This game here has a beauty to it that honestly you can only experience as you play. The wind, the leaves, the flowers, the rain, it all creates a moving picture which is just phenomenal. I mean, this is art. You know what is not art? Ubisoft's open world design. When it was first revealed that the map would be much smaller and only have a part of Japan, I actually thought that was great. But it is my fault to expect anything good from Ubisoft. I mean, these are the folks who are still trying to make a battle royale and an extraction shooter in 2025. This world is just as bloated as Valhalla's or Odyssey before it. The reduction in size has not reduced the mental fatigue you have to go through to get through these oversized maps. Now, I have often heard this criticism from the more modern fans of the franchise that, the games like Assassin's Creed 1, they are really repetitive. I mean, they are just so gosh darn repetitive. I mean, how are we supposed to play them? But then you go and play these RPG games which do the exact same repetitive shit for 500 fucking hours across the 3 or 4 games that have come out. And honestly, that criticism falls flat. The worst part in all of this, Shadows has somehow worse design than both the older and the newer games. I mean, it obviously isn't as vertical or traversal oriented as the older games. I mean, they didn't even try to do it. And to the people who tell me, this is just accurate to the time period. Well, guess what? There weren't random ledges sticking around out of the building in Renaissance era Italy. And they definitely did not hire a time-traveling architect to put those same features across Istanbul, across New York, Boston, Paris, all of these other places. So the only common factor here is that the devs put them there to make the world more traversable, something they could have done if they wanted to. The dev team now have just taken their time and effort to remove any bit of complexity for the 3-year-olds that this game is clearly targeted towards. Your only mode of traversal is to ride a horse for 1,000,000 miles. And compared to the more modern entries, since you are not Spider-Man, you can no longer climb absolutely everything, which means most of the map is not accessible. Your best bet is to just stick to the roads. After all, these are densely packed trees we are talking about. If only someone had solved this problem 13 years ago. Speaking of 13 years ago, there is a 13-year-old feature making a comeback in this franchise. We finally have seasons again. And honestly, I have to say it is well utilized here. Every season has its own charm, and they also have some tangible effect on the gameplay, but not as much that you would think that it is annoying, but just enough that you would think it's authentic. So honestly, it's a great balance that they have struck. And with that, we have arrived to the most dreaded question. After the what and the where, now we come on to why. And this why makes me ask, why oh why does Ubisoft still allow Quebec to make Assassin's Creed games? Now, Ubisoft has been adamant on using this non-linear storytelling structure, and we have seen this time and time again that this just does not work. I mean, worse still, it seems to have caught the eye of Sony now, and Lord save their upcoming games. The non-linear structure completely kills the game. Shadows is at its best when the story is continuous and doesn't provide distraction. Which means it's only really a good story in the Act 1 and then the Act 3. But the Act 2 is the biggest chunk of the game, and the most repetitive, and the most unfocused. Every target from the discount wish.com templars plays out the exact same way. You go to an area, you have no idea who they are, you complete a mission only to learn that the target was near you all along. When you have so many plot twists, it's no longer a plot twist. I would have liked it if at least for once something unexpected happened. Hell, even in the very first Assassin's Creed game, your assassination mission sometimes still had unexpected twists, like your target ambushing you or Altair being confused about the existence of women. Then of course, we move on to Act 3. Finally, the game gets going. We learn why Yasuke knew about the Hidden Blade, and this finally becomes an Assassin's Creed game where we are hunting down Templars and it's gone. Ubisoft Quebec's Assassin's Creed allergy strikes again. Just as we were learning about actual assassins instead of the League of the Hidden Blade, the game is like, fuck you, this is all you get. Now there is an upcoming expansion that will seemingly continue Naoe's journey into actually becoming an assassin. But here's the bright idea, Quebec. Maybe the $70 that I paid for an Assassin's Creed game should get me a fucking Assassin's Creed game. So as it stands, Yasuke is the only one who knew about the Templars, killed 4 of them, not because they were Templars, but because they were slavers who killed his mom. Naoe was told about the entire story of the assassins, which she forgot during the time the game was taking place. She just forgot. And there is a grand total of 1 assassin in the entire game. Just 1. And of course, Ubisoft Quebec managed to make sure that he is somehow the worst character in the entire game. Hanzo Hattori was a legendary assassin who managed to retrieve the Sword of Eden from Oda Nobunaga. But no, not according to this game. According to this game, according to the brilliant minds of Ubisoft Quebec, he never gave a flying fuck about the assassins. He only joined the Brotherhood because he wanted to get into Naoe's mom. He then betrayed everyone because Naoe's mom chose Naoe's father over him. He caused the entire Brotherhood of Japan to be wiped out because he is a simp. That is the story that Ubisoft Quebec chose to tell about the single assassin that is in the game. This entire story is a giant middle finger to every fan of Assassin's Creed, and the fact that they didn't even bother to finish the story is just the cherry on top of this. Now, I am not even going to talk about the modern day because why should I? All I will say is this: if you want to know just how many fucks they can give about a core pillar of this franchise, the only way to access any of the modern day content is to exit back to the menu and read the logs from there. You cannot access anything from the game. And before some brain-dead wise ass comes and lectures me about the lore, guess what? You can still access the Animus store from the main game. So if you are really talking about, oh, it's not in the Animus, guess what? The store isn't a part of the Animus either. It's outside the Animus. If you can access that from the Animus, you should be able to access the vault from the Animus too. It is a decision that they took because they do not care about this franchise at the least. As far as the Animus anomalies that were actually in the game, they are far reduced in scope and somehow worse than even what we had in Valhalla. At least Valhalla had the decency to actually have some puzzles where you discovered some stuff, but not here. No, sir. Now, I could keep going on, but I don't think I need to. In the end, I would say that Shadows just about met my expectations. I expected yet another bloated garbage with a sprinkle of Ubisoft Quebec's bullshit, and that's pretty much what I got. The only saving grace for this game is the fact that it at least succeeds in having a good stealth system, and that's pretty much it. If you are an old school Assassin's Creed fan, stay far away from this. If you are an RPG fan, you actually might not like it as much either. As for me, Ubisoft pretty much has a monopoly on my money, so I'll keep buying this shit till the day I die. And so if you all know how to get out of a toxic relationship, I would really appreciate the advice. So that's pretty much all I had to say about this. I got a little heated there towards the end, but that's just how much I was pissed off by this game. And well, that's what I think. Do let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. And all that said, I will leave you guys in peace. And I also hope that we win today in the Champions League semifinals. So, bye-bye.